Marquise Doherty comes to Mizzou from Kansas City, Missouri, Winnetonka High School. Just the second player from Winnetonka to go D1 since 1984, and we talked about that earlier with Coach Ford, getting the first D1 athlete from U City High School in St. Louis since '89. So, again, the Missouri coaches combing the Kansas City and St. Louis regions, finding talent where there hasn't been D1 talent in many, many years. Marquise Doherty is 6'1", 205, also got a kick return in his background, the ability to play on both sides of the football. He played running back and safety in high school. He was also a track star. And one of the things that you've probably heard about Marquise Doherty, if you've looked him up, is he's a very talented baseball player. Expects to be drafted this spring, could be drafted as high as the 5th round, I was told the other day. Hopes to play baseball at Mizzou. He was a third-team All-American in high school as a junior and received a 10 rating as a baseball prospect, and not a lot of those handed out every single year. Let's talk about the football field, though, with Marquise Doherty as a senior. 137 carries for over 1,000 yards as a running back. Also caught 23 passes for 348 yards, a couple of touchdowns. On the defensive side of the ball, not too shabby. 27 tackles, 2 interceptions. Just another diverse skill set. He even took reps at quarterback for Winnetonka at times. Athletic kid, a smooth athlete, very good with the football, as you can see, fast and speedy. It's Marquise Doherty from Winnetonka High School in the northern part of the Kansas City region. And Coach Hill, let's talk a little bit about Marquise. Great baseball player, but you're more interested in his football skills.
Well, I'm most interested in the fact that his school's by Worlds of Fun, and so we can get coupons to go to Worlds of Fun when you go by Winnetonka as much as possible. No, truthfully, Marquise, I started hearing about him as a sophomore. Big notoriety in the Kansas City area because he was such a big body. You know, he's 205 pounds about right now, 6 foot, 6'1", and he was about that big as a sophomore. And so giving him the football in Kansas City, he was making, you know, huge waves in Kansas City as far as type of athlete he is. Obviously, being a football player, the specialized, he's been running back, but also, like you said, he was in the Wildcat this year, played some quarterback, and also played safety. He could do either play running back or safety for us. I think he's going to kind of start at the running back spot and see how that works out for him and for us, obviously. But he's a intelligent, hardworking guy that I think very tough and really has great top-end speed when he gets on the edge with the football in his hands. You look at his athletic overall skill compared to a guy last year, Monte Harrison, who came out of Lee Summit West that got drafted by the Brewers in the 2nd round. They compare him pretty favorably because he's a center fielder, can run, can hit. And I know he spends a lot of time this time of year working out for Major League Baseball teams and watching him throw, watching him hit in the cages. And so we're hoping he gets drafted just high enough that he feels good about it and just low enough they don't pay him enough money to leave and where he can show up at Missouri next fall.
6'1", 205, you mentioned his size, and that's a little bit different body type than some of the running backs we've seen in recent years. That's, you know, got a few inches and, you know, 15, 20, 25 pounds on a guy like a Marcus Murphy or a Henry Josie. Mm-hmm. How can that benefit the offense to have a little bit bigger back? Well,
it's very beneficial because the more times you carry it, the more pounding, much more pounding you're going to take. And being able to hold up in that pounding, I think that when you have that size, you don't want to give away any speed. And in this case, with Marquise Doherty, he's got the size and the speed and the top-end speed that can break away. Because I think one thing that you look at our running backs, we've been able to make big plays with those guys because they do crease the defensive line, get past the linebackers, and they're gone. Look at Russell Hansbrough in the bowl game. You know, he outrun most guys, and that's what it's good. One thing to be able to be 205 and get 15-yard gains, but turn those 15-yard gains into 65-yard touchdowns is what we're looking for.
And we mentioned, you know, Winnetonka High School, first time since '84 that a D1 athlete comes out of there, and we talked about that with Coach Ford and U City, and no stone unturned, especially inside the state of Missouri for you guys as recruiters, right? And just kind of tell us what it takes to be able to find those diamonds in the rough whenever you've got a player that isn't coming from you know, one of the bigger programs or a program that hasn't produced a Division I player in a while.
Well, Coach Sterling Edwards is a Mizzou guy who's the head coach up there. He used to be at Blue Springs. And in Winnetonka, there's plenty of times I've gone through the school in April evaluating players for next year. So there have been guys to look at. But most of you start hearing about a ripple of a guy that, you know, he's coming up. Hey, Winnetonka's got a running back. He's big. He's got speed, what have you. Marquise was more of a cannonball splash instead of a little ripple when you start hearing about, because his sophomore year, like I said before, he made a lot of plays. Everybody was talking about it. I mean, the crazy thing is when you go in and see a high school coach, you're asking about his players, but you're also, hey, who do you play against that's making an impact, an impression for you that we might be interested in recruiting next year, year after? And a lot of guys said Marquise Doherty's name. And so spending time over there, seeing him as an athlete, I got to see him play baseball last spring. I got to see him do some football workouts 2 years ago. And then just being around him as a person in the last couple months, he is a special guy. And, he had some really good schools recruiting him, and we feel very fortunate he's staying in home state here to go to school.